Today we will wind up with the peasant movements and we will take it as part 2 of this ongoing lecture. Yes, we can start with the reference point of 1854, but there is a tribal movement of the Mundas. That is something we will do in the next class. And we look at the last year, the reference is 1939, that is in Manipur itself with the second Nupi Lan. But we have started with the peasant movements as per the book. And today let us conclude the peasant movements or the farmers' movements. In the book it mentions Kisan Sabhas. Kisan means the farmer. Now in the book there is again, it seems like I am criticizing this book, but what to do? Wrong is wrong, mistake is a mistake. Kisan, there is no H, otherwise it becomes Kishan. Kishan is a name of a person or a place, and Kisan refers to the farmer or the community. In Hindi it means the farmer. So it should be properly spelled as Kisan, K-I-S-A-N, not with an H. Sabha means the association. These sabhas or associations were formed in the provinces. Provinces are like the states, the larger administrative areas. It's on page 136. Do you see 1st September?
Yes,
it's right
sir.
at the bottom. Just underline it. The importance of 1st September is that the year 1936 we observed as the All India Kisan Day. Now in the book they have also mentioned N.G. Ranga. I will get to N.G. Ranga a little bit later. And they have mentioned that he formed the Agricultural Labor Union in Andhra Pradesh. And also the Andhra Pradesh Riot or the Riot Association. But in the book, they don't mention the name, and I don't know why they left it out. This is not really fair. When we look at the history of peasant movements or Kisan Sabhas or farmers associations, we cannot ignore the name of Swaminathan Saraswati. So although it's not in the book, I want to take a little bit of time because the aim of education, especially from my side, is not just to get you through the class 10 exam. It is to prepare you for your whole academic life. And perhaps this will benefit you, and it should benefit you because you're not going to stop your education after 10, isn't it? You will go on to 11 and 12, and then you will finish your BA and MA, and then you will like to sit for an exam in the hope of getting a better job. And in that exam, perhaps one of the questions would be, who is Swami Sahajanand Saraswati? And among the leaders, we have to look at Sahajanand Saraswati. Who was he? He was a social and a political activist, initially based in Bihar. Now, his activities were mainly focused on his writings. He was a very prolific writer. He wrote very well. People really read his writings and they became his followers. After the success in Bihar, eventually it led to formation of All India Kisan Sabhas. Now, what was the main purpose of forming this Kisan Sabhas or Farmers Association? At that time, the zamindari system was in force throughout India. The British introduced this land system. They were only concerned with the land revenue or the land tax. So the zamindar or the land owner, if they continued to pay the tax, they would be the owners permanently. It's a single person who is in charge of the land. They were given a license to do whatever they want with the farmers. And the farmers had no land rights. They were very much oppressed by the landlord or by the zamindar. As we learned in the last class, even they would sometimes even put them in their own private jails. So their condition was terrible. So it's good that leaders like Sahajanand Saraswati came up. And in April 1936, in the Lucknow session, it was formed. And there the first president was Sahajanand Saraswati. And N.G. Ranga was the secretary or the general secretary. When you look at Kisan Sabhas, in the book they have mentioned only N.G. Ranga, but we have to look at Sahajanand or Swami Sahajanand Saraswati as well. It was formed at the Lucknow session of the Indian National Congress, and the Indian National Congress probably wanted to get more support. Remember, I told you that Indian National Congress mass mobilization was necessary. In 1934, in April, it was formally withdrawn. Most of the leaders were in jail, and the government was also on the front foot. That means the government is an advantage, and public were also tired. There was not much support anymore. In a movement, they have to continuously evolve and adapt and find new ways to do things. So the next obvious political group was the farmers. Till now, also, farmers are a very big group. India is an agricultural country, so most people do some kind of farming or the other or are dependent on farmers and farming. So, this was an issue not just now but in the past also. So, they tried to get their support. But the problem came if you see the screen at the bottom, AIKS and the flag. What color is that flag?
Red.
Yes, and red also in politics symbolizes the Communist Party. They were under the influence of the Communist Party. That's why with the Congress, they couldn't get along. So they had to part ways. And so about 1 year later, they even changed the color of their flag to red. And this color has stood till now. Now, regarding communism, let me explain very simply. Communism means that there should be no private ownership of land or resources. Now, it is a very philosophical idea. It's very high philosophy. The communists are mainly philosophers and idealists, and frankly, it's not practical at all. Maybe at some point it had some use. 18th or 19th century, most of the people were the have-nots. The communists also defined people as two classes: one who are in property or having power or income or wealth, they are called the haves, or the income class, or the rich or the super rich. And then you have everybody else who is the have-nots or who have nothing. Have-not means having nothing. And what they said, the solution is that everyone should be the same. That means there should be no rich, no poor, no class, no caste, and there should be no upper class, no middle class, no lower class. Everyone is the same. So as I said, it's very high philosophy and perhaps a little unpractical. So the countries which followed communism, eventually they realized that it's not going to be possible. Let's think on this topic for a while. And it's good to share. Suppose you buy a plate of momo. All of us like to eat momo, I think. And you have the choice. You can eat all the momos by yourself or you share it. And somehow sharing is caring. So when you share all the momos, you enjoy it more. So this is what the communists were saying. Somehow in society, somebody is only eating the momos by himself. They are not sharing. So let's take away that and let everybody share. But how long can you continue? For once or twice? And let us say certain things are not practical also, because certain things can be shared, certain things cannot be shared, and certain things competition is necessary. Let's say if we apply it in schools also, nobody will study also. If we say, oh, whether you study or not, everybody is the same. And if we say there is no rich and there is no poor, nobody will work also. Even if I work or don't work, I will still get whatever I am supposed to get. So there will be no competition. Nobody will even try and make an effort. So for the farmers at that time, it was necessary because they were really suffering. On one side, you have the zamindars who are very rich and they are not sharing anything. All the profits go to them and all the facilities go to them, and the farmers get nothing except more and more trouble, more and more hardship, more and more misery. So they could identify with it. But this eventually led to their breaking up with the Congress. The funny story is that finally it broke up. Among the Communist Party also, it broke up into two. One is the CPI, the Communist Party of India, and the other is the CPIM, the Communist Party of India Marxist. They just broke up and they went to two different offices in the same city. This is Delhi. One office is in Ajay Bhavan and the other is in the Safdar Hashmi Memorial Trust. Distance between these two offices is about 2 kilometers. So just half an hour separating the two offices, and they split up, they broke up. So the Kisan Sabhas started well, but eventually they broke up and they got divided. And as you know, when you are united, you are strong. When you are divided, you are weak. Okay, let us look at NG Ranga, and then we will slowly wind up. I will just give you what details are necessary for you in class 10. Firstly, the full name. I'm not sure even I can pronounce it. Gogineni Ranga Nayokulu. He was from Andhra Pradesh. He is a world record holder in parliamentary politics because he has been elected to the Indian Parliament several times. Not only that, he also took a part in the freedom struggle, and we can count him as a classical liberal and also a farmers leader, a very educated person. He went to the University of Oxford and he also taught economics in Pachayappa's college in Madras or in Chennai. He also formed the Swatantrata Party. He is also considered the father of the Indian peasant movement. The record is that he served for 60 years in the Indian Parliament. We also fondly call him as Acharya Ranga. Acharya is a Sanskrit word. It means a teacher or a leader or a guide. Guru would mean, let's say, someone who dispels darkness, someone who spreads the light. And Acharya is someone who understands that light and explains it, somewhat like a teacher. So Acharya Ranga is also one of the titles given to NG Ranga. So we need to remember him as the father of the Indian peasant movement and also as a world record parliamentarian, about 60 years in the Indian Parliament. He also led the riot agitation in 1933. Or let us say people like this have a very small part in history, and even in the book it is given a very small lecture. But just think for a while. These are people who are well educated in the best universities and having a very decent job. A professor would be earning very well. What is the need for him to and get involved with the farmers or farmers' affairs? So it's people like this who make an effort, a difference. And the few honors that he got, a world record, that is not enough. I think they should get more recognition. And incidentally, an agriculture university in Andhra Pradesh is also named after him. Now let us conclude with the riot system. The riot system is an Urdu word. The difference is that zamindars were the landlords, but the riots have no land right. They're just tenants and cultivators and served as hired labor. He has a right to hold the land just to cultivate it, either by himself or by his family members or people whom you hired or maybe partners. Now this could even continue after he passed away or he died. So succession rights were there. And let us close with highlights or just a simple analysis. How did the farmers become so poor? Even ancient times also, farmers were quite well off. Remember in the caste structure, they have a very decent rank. So they were somewhere always in the middle class. So from the middle class, they have gone right down to the BPL, or let us say below poverty line. So we have to look at four main issues: the colonial economic policies, which we have discussed it in the last class, and I won't repeat it again. Second point also, the ruin of handicrafts, overcrowding of land. Third and fourth point, let me just briefly tell you. The land revenue system, the British were just experimenting to keep the system running. That means the British depended on money, on cash, on income. So everything that they did, permanent settlement, Ryotwari, Mahalwari, was just cleverly designed so that the cash flow keeps on coming. It's like let us say what companies do right now. Companies will come up with buy one, get one free. But you still buy that one. This 30% discount, 20% discount, but you still go and buy that thing. So in a sense, this was what was going on, although officially, of course, under the British. And lastly, the administrative and the judicial system. They were supposed to get justice, but they didn't get that. Instead, they got more and more oppression from high rents, from illegal activities by the zamindars. The farmer had no other option but to go to the local moneylender, and his debt went on increasing and increasing and increasing. This continued during the British time with the East India Company, and after 1857 with the Crown rule or the direct rule, there was a little bit of change, and because politics also came up in India, you had political movements, you had political parties, and they came together and they put forth certain demands. Their demands were mainly on the economic side. So let's make a balance sheet and let's balance it out where it was successful, where it was not. So firstly, it created the right atmosphere for reforms to take place after independence. For example, Zamindari was still there in the time India got independence. It was abolished only after India got independence. So this changed the farming or the agrarian structure. And finally, the ideology of nationalism, that India for the Indians. In the past, India was just a jewel in the crown. India for the British industry, for the British economy, for the British polity. But now we have India for Indians, whether it is farming or whether it is in a factory or whether it is in politics, this all came together.